the plan for today is that I give a little bit of an update of where we are with GML. We're reapplying for another grant, and then I'll pass the stage to Danny. And from there, we'll hear about both the reputation research that is going on, and also thanks for sending the link. Clicked immediately. I should check links way more before I click them in chats. And then we'll discuss a little bit as well where we can help Danny, but also where she might identify where the GML might go from her practical view of what might be helpful. So, where's my... Why did it show up? Is this full screen now?
Yep.
All right, nice. So what we're going to do today is mostly work towards Danny's presentation, but as a bit of an update, so we started the GML quite a while ago, but end of last year, we applied for the first startup grant where we built out the pipeline. We see a vision for the GML to be a bit of an open research collection that includes both learnings, research that has already happened, applications, requirements, but also implementable code. So we're planning to input specifications, but also toy models or simulations, either in Python or Rust. So while we started that last year, we had some initial modules that we included. So the NQG parts, the Quorum Delegation. There's an early spec for Tier-Based Role Certifiers, but now we think that it's the time to really get started with it. So we're also applying for a follow-up grant to populate it. In the future, we'd really like this to be a place where everybody can go and contribute to ongoing research, just pick from ongoing research, have well-specified governance modules that you can rather easily implement, and ideally for this to be platform agnostic. So while we start here in Sorbonne, obviously we would prefer that this is available to as many communities as possible. We thought about what we want to do to best get it started. So our grant continuation will essentially be in three parts. We're on one hand applying for actually facilitating the community's research that is coming in. So these meetings, populating the GML with community research. So that's what we call active community management, but then also getting started on two modules. We thought about conviction voting, osmotic governance, multi-track governance, a couple of different things. I wouldn't say that we have finalized what we're going to work on, but we want to pick something that, in our belief at least, is recognizable, that a lot of people have made experiences with, where we can collect research, streamline it, and put it in. Obviously, at BlockScience, we've done a bunch of research on conviction voting in the past. So we're also picking a little bit from what we find interesting, but it isn't 100% clear which ones we're going to input in the end. So I've listed out a little bit of what we're going to try and work on in the next couple of months. So at least monthly workshops and events, helping people to get onboarded with this, iterating on the GML itself, so the maintenance of it, and really try to get this going. And then on the other part, to make it actually useful, we want to design and develop at least two modules for it, where we bring it through the entire pipeline. So that includes writing specifications for it, gathering requirements for it, potential applications, applications where it does not make so much sense, and really getting as much structured research out as possible. Again, for us, it is often a pain point that for specific governance modules, there's maybe a blog post here and maybe an implementation there, but it's really hard to port these over. and to also often understand where things are applicable and where they are not. So when we say we're going to design and develop this, we're really thinking of writing full-on specifications, implementation instructions, tuning guidelines, which parameters do what in the system, and provide at least some form of simulations for it where people can test it. We're currently considering a couple of different ones. I think the benefit of if we get to do this is that if so we apply for a grant, but if the 2 modules are finished early, we'll just tackle a 3rd one. The great thing about BlockScience is that if we have downtime, we do more research. So in the end, this will be at least 2 modules, but we're trying to get as many in as possible. That's for the brief update on our side. We're happy to have Danny here today. We've pulled this from online. I hope this is still accurate. But I want to pass to you in a second. I think I have, yeah, I just have some placeholder discussion slides, but I think passing it on to you now for as long as you want is the best course of action. So I'll stop this, and would ask you, Danny, to come on stage.
Nice. Hello, everyone. I will share my screen. Yeah, it's difficult to find the tab here.
It always is.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to share. Okay, I think I can't share my screen. Could you please share the presentation I sent to you? If I present my screen, if I share my screen, I will have to turn off the computer and turn it on again because of the
yes,
system preferences. Yeah. Thank you so much.
1 second. Here, I think. Here.
Awesome. Thank you so much. You saved my life. Okay. So let's talk about reputation. Zug is also here, mainly because he's the guy doing all the product processes. So if you have any questions, he'll be the best person to answer. But mainly today, I'm going to talk about why reputation and what we are building. I will give you an overview on what we are building and why we are using the GML, because this library is very, very important to us. In this moment, we want to use that and also contribute. Yeah, okay, go ahead, Jakob. Awesome. Basically, I work for Blockful. We help DAOs to reach longevity by participating in research in the governance. But how? We like to optimize human coordination. I'm a governance passionate, and building public goods. We find out that if you build public goods, if you build open source, you'll be much better because you can have the community inside it, building the governance, building tools since the infrastructure. And basically, that's Blockful. We are also official service providers of ANS. We are building with Arbitrum, now with Stella. I met Anki at Denver. And yeah, basically, we want to improve the governance, and that's why I bring reputation and all those topics, and we need to talk about it a little. Yeah. I am Danny, also known as Danny Ming. I'm product manager at Blockful, and I won the Tier Argentina hackathon with a reputation protocol based on Remark. It's a dApp on Polkadot that give to people badges. So if you help the Polkadot ecosystem to find bugs, if you help the Polkadot ecosystem writing some articles, you want a badge. So based on this Remark dApp, we built a reputation aggregator that can add your POAPs, your events, all the contributions you did on chain. And we were the only team that won 3 prizes. It was very nice. A lot of layer 2, mainly the community-based ones were very, very interested in reputation. And since then, I was okay. So reputation is something I should study. I have a literature background, I have a literature degree, and I remember that I have read a lot of things about reputation, and then I started to study reputation and apply to the on-chain environment. I'm doing another researches also on Yanomamis, tribes in Brazil, Yanomamis people here in Brazil. I will present to Metagov about Yanomamis, how they coordinate themselves, how they see reputation also. I'm also a Chainlink community advocate. I'm helping the Chainlink community since 2022. I was the first community advocate of Brazil. And I'm a postgrad professor in 2 colleges here in Brazil, also explaining about DAOs and oracles and also cross-chain tools. Nice. Okay, but why reputation? Yesterday was a nice day. I explained it about reputation to a huge bank in Brazil called Inter. And I saw that people were interested in how we can change the world using the decentralized environment. And I see that we have an important role in this change, because we can see that people that have a lot of money are coordinating the world. And this is plutocracy. And your vote, for example, doesn't matter. If you vote for President A or President B, it doesn't matter. In the end of the day, who will coordinate something, who will change the world, will be the person who has the money. So we are tokenizing governance, as we can see in governance in DAOs, but we are doing it in the wrong way, because we are bringing the same problems. We are bringing this plutocracy. And if you have a lot of money, if you have a lot of voting power, you will coordinate the DAO as you want. This is plutocracy. It can work. Plutocracy is not a problem itself, but it is a limitation. We can see like plutocracy working, for example, in Uniswap because of A16Z, because they want money, and plutocracy, of course, attracts money. But if you want to talk about a DAO that is community-based, that is worried about human coordination, we need to talk about velocracy, not only democracy. Democracy is one person, one vote. Money is money, vote. And velocracy is effort, vote. That's why we need to talk about reputation and velocracy, and how we can add those efforts, those community efforts inside the DAO governance. Go. Awesome. And plutocracy is bad in some way, mainly when we're talking about community-based DAOs, because it brings low engagement. This is a chronic problem of the DAOs. And money-based governance can lead to not only a low engagement, but a money based proposals. As we can see, for example, in Nouns DAO, they forked it because people were submitting proposals only to get money, and they were voting. Whales were submitting proposals. Okay, I want to do this minor proposal here, minor contribution, and I would take all the money, and I'm voting, I'm winning. So they were doing all the process, submitting proposals, getting the money, and voting. So whales are winning all the money, and it was doing again and again and again, and that's why they fork it. So a small portion of people were controlling the whole. And what about the underrepresented members? For example, we can talk about even social and economic problems. I am from Brazil, and I don't have a lot of money, mainly because of my background. So how can I be active in a DAO if I don't have voting power, if I don't have a lot of money, a lot of tokens? So that's why I started also to study reputation. So some years ago, I started, you can go, please. Some years ago, I read an article in a very nice newsletter called Dirty Roads. I don't know if you guys know Luca Prosperi. He's a very smart guy. And he wrote about dilutive governance of Nouns DAO. So 2 years before Nouns DAO fork, he wrote about it. He said Nouns is going to fork. And this is because the governance will not work, because the whales are voting to get more money, then they will get more NFTs, then they will get more money, and then more NFTs also. And it will generate centralization, and the underrepresented ones will go out of the DAO. Exactly what happened. And I recommend you to read. And this is a very nice article. And then after the fork, he wrote another article explaining why sub-DAOs, small groups of people, and people doing efforts should be add to the governance also. So now's use case is a very use case about how plutocracy can be a problem, mainly because now is focused on spread the word of the Now's DAO, of the Web3 in general. So yeah. And this year, I think in January, I found the Velocracy Manifesto. The Velocracy Manifesto was made for a guy here in Brazil called Casta, and he suggested this not democracy and not plutocracy way of governance, but Velocracy. And this manifesto is very, very beautiful. If you type Manifesto Velocracy on Google, you can find it. He wrote it with the community, and it's a Web3 solution for next-gen DAOs. So the DAOs emerging nowadays can use this Velocracy Manifesto. But what about the DAOs that started before? Because whales don't want to stop being whales. Whales want to be whales. So how can we help, not the plutocracy end, but how can we help the underrepresented ones to be represented? That's my approach here. And I made an article also called Implications of On-Chain Reputation from Plutocracy to Velocracy. And I don't want to reinvent the wheel. I don't want to create something new that MakerDAO or Arbitrum DAO will change completely the governance model. But I want to think in a product they will add, and that will help the underrepresented ones to keep engaged, and that will help the underrepresented ones to have a voting power, to have some voice in the community. And then I created in this article a trilemma about plutocracy, democracy, and velocracy. And adding the product we are building, we are going to have a plutocratic governance, but with a velocracy sauce on it. So we are going to have, for sure, whales and people with huge voting powers doing big stuff, but also we are going to have members with not a huge voting power adding their efforts and keep engaged. So velocracy is more about human being as an agent and not as a product. So if you're interested in my article, I can send a link here very soon. It's an article where I mentioned this trilemma. I mentioned also Pareto. Pareto efficiency is a very nice topic, mainly when we are talking about reputation. And yeah, go. I think we're going to talk about the product now. I hope so. Yeah, so what are we building? We're building trustful reputation aggregator system of multiple different emissions. So we don't want to define what reputation is. We want to aggregate the meanings the DAO attribute to it. Basically, if Stellar consider reputation, the number of pull-ups and events in real life you attended, we are going to aggregate it. Why we don't want to why don't we want to define reputation? Because we want that the DAOs define, and this is the high point of our product. You can go ahead. Yeah, and GML also is very useful because the reputation is the soapy fish of Web3. Through GML, we want to contribute with those data and also use those data because we want to know more what DAOs consider reputation. So what arbitrators consider reputation, what Stellar is considering reputation. If you go to Alchemy, you see like 26 or 28, I don't remember, protocols about reputation, but you can see Collabland, you can see Zilli. We don't know what reputation is. So we need a library that not will define what reputation is, but will help us to see what DAOs are considering as reputation. And this is very, very nice because we can create relations between DAOs, and we can also choose in which DAO we are going to be involved based on what they consider as reputation. So if Stellar is considering reputation, efforts, and writing articles, I'll be like, okay, that's nice. This is also reputation to me. So I'm being more involved in Stellar because they consider reputation, those and those and those topics that I also consider as reputation. Go. So reputation in Trustful is measured in aggregate contracts. So you connect your wallet and you can we can read your on-chain data, such as POAP, events you attended, votes, and proposals. So if you have a POAP that says that you attended this workshop and it counts as a reputation, you'll be there. In our MVP, we are using AAS, Ethereum Attestation Services. That is infrastructure, public goods for making attestations on chain or off chains about anything. And DAOs can read the data we're aggregating, but using their own schemas. So the DAOs can create these schemas. Okay, we are going to consider reputation, these, and these, and they can create also scores. So POAPs, 5 points, events in real life, 2 points, bug hunts, 10 points, and they can create these schemas, and we are going to aggregate it so they can connect and use what we are aggregating. So we are not worried about define what reputation is, because this is a philosophical problem that we don't want right now. And because also we can create new markets on it, for example. You can go ahead and explain a little more about this new markets I can see. Yeah, here you go. We are not concerned with what they consider reputation. There is no innate score. How this will serve as a point depends on their organization. We are aggregating it. We'll have a question. What are some of the challenges that you have identified in your research on Volocracy? Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, in my research about Volocracy, the problems and challenges I found was mainly related to in real life stuff. Of course, we have oracles to attestate some stuff, but it's very difficult because we live in a economic world. So everyone wants money. So to change this mindset, so it's very difficult. When people join a DAO, they have the mindset, okay, how I'm going to contribute to get the money of this treasure. And in Volocracy is different. It's how I'm going to contribute to benefit the whole, and then I'll benefit myself. So this is the biggest challenge, I guess, to change the mindset and to see people involved, not because they want to earn money, but because they want to see the whole better and working well so they can benefit of it. So this is very difficult. In real life stuff, such as organizing events or doing some marketing campaigns in real life, and also this mindset changing. Yeah, biggest problems I found, I guess. Nice. I think you can keep going. Well, I think a lot about it. I don't know if if Zug is thinking about it. I guess he's more worried about building the product. But I think this can generate an ecosystem of relationship between organizations. So one DAO considers the reputation of another or not. I put here an example. Arbitrum, for example, can use Jacob's badges, but using what Stellar consider as a reputation. So Arbitrum can basically take what Stellar consider reputation and use it. In other words, this allows us to infer that Arbitrum trusts Stellar's reputation parameters. This is very nice because they cannot be blockchain related, but they are related in some way in a reputation level. They have some affinity. So the highest point of the Trustful is to be cross organization. So you can bring your reputation whenever you go. So if you're going to join another DAO, if you're going to join another organization, you can bring your reputation and say, okay, look here, I have made a lot of contributions on Stellar, and I have contributed to GML, for example, with BlockScience, and my reputation is here on chain, so you can see. Oh, thanks, Zenki. Yeah, we can go ahead. I'm almost finishing, so we can have questions. Yeah, so in the future, I envision a dashboard that displays the relationship between reputation and efforts across various DAOs, indicating the level of affinity between them. And GML will be 100% useful for it. So DAOs can use the library to see what we are building, to connect with different governance models, and to add new stuff. And I can see a dashboard of reputation affinity. So we're not blockchain related, but I trust in you in some way. I trust in what you consider reputation. I saw that you use GML. I saw that I saw your data there. So that's why we are also aggregating. We are doing basically what GML is doing, that is aggregate knowledge. We're aggregating reputation. Go. So a little more about the product, the Trustful. The application right now is very minimal. Zalo community will test the MVP. Now focus on its experience. Zug is doing an amazing job. It was amazing to see the idea I brought from a hackathon being built, mainly because it's Zug building it. I don't know if you guys know Zug, but he's an awesome guy. He knows a lot about product. And every time he shows me a little more about the product, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe we're building it. So the basics are collecting data, but focus on not having frictions for users. So we are doing minimal job in this first moment. Of course, in the future, we're going to create a V2 to aggregate more stuff and more important data that DAOs can consider. And sure, mobile version, I see that this Usalo community, for example, is very, very interested in have it to mobile, because people can do, for example, I attended an event. I want to do it right now that I'm in this event, and I want to aggregate this in my reputation right now. So mobile is very, very important. Not only about reputation, but Web3 in general should be looking for mobile versions of everything. Let me see. I guess Volocracy has similar challenges and criticism that meritocracy is subjected to. Oh, sure. Yesterday at the bank, we talked about meritocracy also. But I think they are different in some way, because meritocracy assumes that we all have the same opportunities, and Volocracy is just looking for your efforts, not your background. Okay, reputation to me is writing an article. So what were your effort? Did you wrote a paragraph? Did you wrote two? Did you write the whole text? Okay, it will be counting for us. This is an effort we can count. But this is a nice yeah, I should write an article on it, like meritocracy versus Volocracy. I like that hash. Thanks. Yeah, let's go. Yeah, we have two flows. So we have a button to generate badges. We will connect your wallet and all the on-chain data. This button will generate the badges. I mean, proposals, POAPs, as I said in the beginning, all the on-chain stuff. And we have the second flow. I think Zug can explain better if he wants to. I know that his internet is not good right now, but if he wants to, feel free. And the second flow is to import and create a new badge. So if you attended an event, if you did something that you consider that was important, if you consider that it was an effort, you can create. And the DAO does the validation of this new badge. It can be off-chain stuff also. So I don't know, you cleaned the venue of a venue of an event, and then you can add it there and create a new badge, and the DAO can look to it and said, okay, it was an effort. It brings for sure reputation. Let's add. So DAOs can use a score that is already respected. You don't need to create a new score, as I said before. You can get a score that you trust from another organization. Zug raised his hand. Go ahead, Zug. The stage is yours.
Yeah. Thanks, Danny. On this part of the product, it's for me interesting to try to bring it to some clarity. That's the part we've been focusing lately, is understanding how do people flow through reputation on their day-to-day, right? It's one of the many challenges that at any point when you take from research and move to product in a space as new as Web3, is understanding how much of tech savvy the product will hit and how much of actual scalability use it can hit. And when we're talking about reputation is a social aspect. It doesn't behave the same way in a group of 10, and it doesn't behave the same way in a group of 1,000 as it will in a group of 1,000,000. So as it has those changes, we're trying to get this view of how those different communities can use that. So we're going for as basic as possible in your first view, and then you can get to a more advanced. So once a user will get in there to claim their badges, I'll go to generate my attestations, and I'll have the modules that are enabled for me. So if it's POAPs, if it's DAO tokens, if it's GitHub commits, if it's whatever we are using past the MVP, it's a couple of clicks. But if I want to attest for myself for something or attest to someone for something, I always have that option of using any of the libraries of schemas that EAS already has. I don't know if everyone's familiar with EAS. That's what we're using as the base layer to build Trustful on top. But essentially what it provides is a very easy way to attest for anything, as long as you create a model for how that type of attestation should work and believes in an economic incentive for people to use the same model of attestations. So we're more powerful. If I met Anke and Dani in real life, if we use the same library to say, oh, I'm saying Dani is human, I saw her in real life, I saw Anke is human. And as I'm using the same model, and they also use the same between themselves, that starts accruing more visibility. And that's what we're trying to pull towards in the product here, is that it's beautiful that I can use a POAP to say you've been to my event, or you can have my ticket on Luma, or you can have my NFT ticket, or any of the 2,000 varieties. But then I want to query reputation to understand if you've been to an event, and now I have to check 10,000 places. So the look here is to use a powerful base layer that's EAS and be able to bring all those different types into cohesion. So different communities that have different cultures can have some trust in the same sort of reputation verification. And that's through the user part. I'll get in there. I'll say my presence there was shown through a POAP. My presence there was shown through this ticket. And I'll create that attestation, and I can have someone just use the function is true to vouch for my attestation in a very simple social media way. But then for the organization side, the flow runs on the other part. None of those badges has a score. I'm not, who am I to tell Anke that her presence in an event was worth 10 points? What Trustful looks to do is to give you the power of saying I've been to the event, or to say someone's been to my event, and confirm that with as many sources as possible. But to give the reputation, the score part, the valid, how much it's worth, it sits on the reader. That's how it goes in society in general, right? If I am graduated in a history, I have a history master's, for example, that means very different things for different people. We give different scores to different reputations. So we're also building that flow, the flow of the score creator. It's quite similar in structure to Grant's stack with Gitcoin. So we are able to plug right in there this idea of making a local score, right? So I do care if you're human. I want your proof of humanity. Nice. That means something. Globally, you're human. You're not a bot. There's some trust here. But to my community, maybe that's not enough. Maybe I need to know what you've done to the community. So we're looking at this global store that is humanity plus community. And the community part is the DAO flow. So I'll get in there and I'll be able to write that this is worth, just as Danny recently explained, and then go that through across community, but looking at the proofs, looking at the attestations. Here is what happened. How much do your community value it? Oh, how much do you trust the other community valuation? That's kind of the two flows, right? So user getting attestations and badges, DAOs being able to define the valuation of those attestations for their own spaces. Then, sorry if I went too long. Get back to.
No, thank you. It was very helpful. As you are the product guy here, building everything. I can see some questions. Anki asked it when I will speak it on for Metagov, and Vol already answered. Thanks, Vol. And Hash asked it, can you share some of the insights about reputation for your work in the Yanomami? Oh, yeah, I will explain all about it on the Metagov seminar. Feel free to join. I will let you know about the date. But I think the most interesting thing I found out is that they don't have names. So they don't have their own names. And this is incredible because for them means the most what you were doing and in which community you were related. And this is pseudonymity in some way. We are hashes here. We don't have name in Web3 also. I am 0x and blah, blah, blah. So they don't have names also. And they are like the mom of someone or the son of someone. And what you were doing there and what you were related to, it's better than your name. This is awesome. But I will explain everything on Metagov seminar. Nice. I'm almost finishing, so we can jump to questions. Yeah, our proof of concept, same as the hackathon. Some layer 2 community base, as I said, we're very interested mainly for airdrops. So if you have a good reputation and a good score, based on your effort, you can be able to eligible to an airdrop. This is a very, very interesting use case. And the vision is to be composable, not to create something entirely new or reinvent the wheel. The idea is to aggregate, and it can even incorporate elements for other existing and niche reputation protocols that already exist. Regardless of where you come from, you can use your reputation and demonstrate it in an organized and aggregated way. So cross-organization, as Zug said, we don't want to create a score on it. We're just going to aggregate, and you can join every DAO, and they will say how much they want to point your reputation. By connecting through Stellar and using the badges here, we can read them. If you want to use them for optimism and reading them in Stellar, that's also possible, as I said. And I will mention this again, to ecosystem that previously didn't connect it through technology can now connect through reputation, for example, and jointly shape what reputation means. Sometimes they are not blockchain compatible, but they are reputation compatible. This is a very, very interesting way. And I have some things about GML. Why is the library so important? Because they are aggregating knowledge, and this is crucial, which is why we are aggregating reputation and not reputation. We are aggregating things that the DAOs can say that is reputation. And GML, besides being open, allows us to verify data and contribute also. And how it's being and how it's being perceived and utilized. And additionally, we can contribute by connecting the reputation data of organizations there. Well, feel free to ask me some questions. I think I gave you all an overview on we're building and what we're thinking about reputation. Yeah. Hope you liked it.
Thank you so much. That was very, very interesting. I gotta check. I think I'm gonna stop sharing here because it's always nicer to talk without all of that. Thanks so much. One thing that I've wondered about, and I find it super interesting with the scoring that you leave open to every organization. So you aggregate different points of reputation and then let it open for anybody to score. And I've kept wondering about, like, on one hand, you're already restricting the set of items that can come in, because obviously you need to have integrations for them to be properly aggregated. So there is already a subset of things that need to be scored or that could be scored. And an organization would then probably choose a subset of that subset and say, these are valid for us, and we assign these and these scoring mechanisms or a certain algorithm to it. But I find it super interesting to then use the scoring by others or to use them as suggestions. When you don't know how to score certain items, you could also display, oh, you trust Arbitrum DAO and you trust these and you trust them. They have scored them like this, and you can start use it as a starting point. And if you don't have any differing opinion, you can override it or just reuse it, which I find super interesting. What is the current thinking around how you let organizations score that? Are you providing a list of possible items and you assign a singular score to each, or do you define a group of items that a DAO wants to take in, and then you provide an algorithm that could be applied to that? What is the current thinking around that?
That's an awesome question. By the way, this is my favorite part about Trustful, how the DAOs will trust each other. But on-chain data in general, such as proposals, POAPs, or proposals accepted, or DeFi engagement. So all the on-chain data can be there. But if you want to use a thing that is not there as a group of things that can be used, you can add. So you can create a new badge, and the DAO can attestate it. The DAO can see, okay, this is reputation to us. I will start to score this. So you can create a new stuff. So if the thing you want to consider is not there, you can create.
Mm-hmm. And then for the things that are there or not there and being created, how would an organization go about scoring them or creating a schema to score them? Is that something that you've already been working on?
Yeah, Zug created a spreadsheet on it, so they can score as they want to. I don't know how Zug is not here anymore. Poor Zug, his internet is very bad those days. But they can consider, for example, 5 points to a POAP, 3 points to, I don't know, proposals passed, and in the end of the day, the DAO will create a system where they will be like, okay, POAPs 1 point or 5 points, proposals 2 points, and they will they will add all those numbers, and then you can see your score in a total. So Dani has 15 points because she has a lot of POAPs, she has a lot of proposals. So yeah, the DAO can create these scores.
Nice. Yeah, I love when people talk about scoring off-chain or local parts as well. As you mentioned, the cleaning up at the event or something like that, super important, but often does not factor into reputation. There's so many different projects around that over the years have tried like scoring or providing reputation for these things. Just Giveth Praise and Source Cred and some other things that all had some fault of their own. But overall, I love seeing that more is being done to work in that direction.
Yeah, it's nice. Yeah, as I said, reputation is the soapy fish. We can catch it. It's very difficult, mainly when we want to add a social part in a 0-1 ecosystem, because we are dealing with blockchain codes. It's a 0-1 or 1 ecosystem. So add a social stuff here. It's very, very difficult. And I think that in the future, we already deal with that, but in the future, we're going to deal more with ethics problems and start to deal more and more with philosophical problems and stuff.
Yeah, I guess
Absolutely.
like, sorry, like I guess I haven't really spoken up, but it's a really awesome presentation, Daniela. I know that I've been listening
Thanks.
to you speak for a while now, and I'm just really like, I think like reputation indeed, like a soapy fish. It's an interesting reference. It is so interesting. I mean, there's obviously on-chain stuff that we can already capture, but there's so much not. I also think like, I mean, that trust neuron, I know that Jakob, we have been working with where you kind of trying to map trust between different members. I mean, even just like on like Twitter followers or something like that, or things that people that you believe have good things to say can help bridge that gap. That is kind of like, yeah, like at what point do you I guess like note everything down, like every like event that you did, every like little small thing, right? And where to what point is that too much, where that might be like overkill, and to what point can we also like have a very clear view of like, well, how would this, so it's like a good thing for airdrops as well, but something that we've been thinking about is like, well, if you use reputation in governance, what happens, let's say, if you suddenly start to behave against the best interest of a community? And like how can a community be empowered to like quickly reduce someone's reputation or things like that as well? Or it's just like, well, I guess like, yeah, I guess like Jean is just talking about that right now. Have you thought about negative reputational attestations? So maybe that could be an interesting part to, would love to have your take on like how can someone, yeah, I guess like if they do exert bad behavior in a community, like how can they lose reputation in that sense?
Wow, that's a very interesting question. I already thought about it. I don't know how I would deal, like, for example, with a bad reputation protocol, for example. Who's going to attestate that I was a bad person? But it is an interesting question. I don't know how, yeah, we're talking about people's behavior. It's very, very complex. But I can see, for example, cleaning in a venue and I'm doing bug hunts and then acting against the community, as long as, I don't know, someone did something very, very bad to me. But wow, that's an interesting question. Have you thought about negative reputational attestations? Oh, will if you hack me. Yeah, true. Yeah, maybe they can create something like, for example, being disrespectful in the community and create a negative point. So like if you have 15 points, but you did something bad or you tried to hack me, your power of reputation can be lower. I don't know, but this is a very, very nice question. For now, I can't envision a community. I think it's the next step, but I can't right now envision someone doing efforts to a community and then acting bad. Chinese social scores, yes, this is so Black Mirror.
It
In
is,
some
but it's
way.
also
Yeah.
it is really important though, because
Yes.
like so local communities constantly self-regulate by imposing, oh, if you like treat us bad, we're gonna exclude you from the community, or people are gonna not
Yeah.
like you anymore. It is an important
Yeah,
social
rage
mechanism.
quit. Rage
And
quit.
it is a slippery slope, but it's also I think especially in Web3, where we usually operate with, as you said before, with addresses and pseudonyms, etc. I can at any point, I should have the ability to exit a community whenever I want, and to ideally also erase in some way that account. So no, I cannot join again, and I can, if I build a positive reputation and then I'm just malicious all around, I should not be able to reuse that. Should it follow me around everywhere if I do something bad on the internet once? Tough to say. It's a bit of a weird system, but it's also not exactly the same as necessarily your full clear name being pasted and assigned negative reputation. So it is a tough topic to like decide what to do with it, but I think it's important to have it in some fashion.
Yeah, tough topic. I'm thinking now about how people can attestate. Yeah, a criminal record is a real thing. Yeah, exactly. it makes sense. I'm thinking on how people will attestate it. For example, I was disrespectful with some member. How do they will attestate it? You know, like who's gonna say that I was disrespectful? Because one thing is Danny was at this event. I met Anke. Anke attested, oh, she's here. That's perfect. But Danny was disrespectful. Who's going to attestate it in some way, you know?
Yeah, I guess
that's
with
a very French.
with the trust, Nora, and what we're trying to see with like neuroquorum governance, or what they're trying to have built still. I have tons of ideas always, but like, you know, I think it's hard to kind of get them all developed like in a short period of time. But it's like, well, if you have like, let's say like, at least in neuroquorum governance is like we have this trust, Nora, and so like people actually like, can like add trust. And I'm thinking like this hypothesis, right? What if like, so maybe if one person says like, you know, actually like we are not, you know, it's like didn't like you, but the rest was like, well, no, still kind of all right. It might not be such a large reduction, right, of reputation. But let's say like if a lot of people like suddenly untrusted you, I think that could actually maybe have some kind of algorithm where it's like, oh, actually like this is flaggable. This makes, you know, a large reduction in reputation. So let's say if you made a really negative or like really bad behavior on public channels and people are like, that's, you know, this is not a person that should actually have a large reputation or voting power in our community anymore. I would love like to like actually put this into practice and just to try out with like if things like this were to happen, like how would the community react? Because I like the idea of like people gaining reputation, but there should equally also be kind of like a slope of you cannot have that voting power or that governance power all the time. Like you need to stay active and you need to stay positive. And yeah, I mean, I think that can be really powerful too, where it's just like, yeah, I mean, hopefully we're not doing like something like Chinese social scores, right? But actually something more sustainable where it's like you want to upkeep your good reputation, because if you don't, like you might lose it and then you have to start all over again or something. But not so black and white, I guess.
Yeah, now my brain's on fire.
Because for the trust network, at least, like what we have right now is positive trust and that forming a network. And then obviously, yeah, you could do trend detection and say, what if sudden changes somewhere happen, especially locally around one node, everyone untrusts them after an event. Probably they misbehaved at the event or we're just not a good person all around. But then there's also the potential, and that is again this slippery slope. Do we want to go there? Of like, you could also assign distrust, negative trust to somebody. So instead of just revoking priorly given trust, you could also actively assign negative trust to them, which again is hard to like see the consequences in advance of what that means. But there's so many different ways of how you might react to such things. And there's so much more we can explore.
Yeah, so social stuff on chain. Val shared some very, very interesting stuff. And also I'm already thinking about ZK. So for example, if you have a good reputation, it can be shown to everyone. But if you have a bad reputation, what about a ZK that says, okay, this person has a bad reputation in this area, but don't tell what you did specifically. So a bad reputation on DAOs or bad reputation on a DeFi community, but not exactly what you did. So my brain is already on fire again. Yeah, I have to go also. I'll be here. I know that Jacob has some final words, but I'll be here. But soon I have to go to another meeting.
All right. I will be able to.
I was interested in it. Did you guys record it?
We did. We usually record. We'll post the recording in the channel as well.
Cool, I'll watch it later. Sorry, I had another meeting and I just saw the post.
Yeah, I actually bailed from the same meeting. We had our SCF collective review meeting where we go through hundreds of submissions and see with the community and see whether they're worth it. But I trust my my folks on my team to do a good job, hopefully. Well, anyway, thank you so much, Danny. This was great. We'd love to see your Stellar Community Fund submission. Hopefully by the next deadline on this as well with your with the badges and with the protocol.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, similarly for me, thank you for joining. Thank you, Anki. As final words, I would probably say I would love if you input some of your research into the GML, and especially if you use that to tell us whether that's an extra barrier, whether we should make changes to it in structure, of what sort of content and detail is expected for it, because this is a living library that we want to adapt to how people actually want to do research and development. So don't feel like the current structure, if it is imposing upon you and if it's too much of a barrier, let us know, and we'll discuss on how it can be changed to facilitate it better. I think this is the first iteration, and by populating it with modules, we'll learn more about what is the most useful way to do it. See you later. Thank you all for joining.
See you. Thank you for the opportunity. It was amazing.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you all.
Have a nice weekend,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Bye.
You too.